Yes, it's true. We're still in business on the Leaf Hour edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandale, and Jake the Snake Schultz. Everyone's favorite day, according to my Sammy McKee's lineup, the locker room clean out. How exciting.
I said, Sammy said, we should run last year's show and see if anyone notices. play the one from last year.
Oh, hold on. Before we begin, okay, so what's the deal? Because I know there's always been slogans in the Leaf dressing room, but you're telling me that there's one.
I was having a laugh. Mark Lazarus tweeted about it today, but it's the Leafs did their podium today beside a sign that says, and the punctuation's not great. It says, no grit, period. No grind, period. No greatness, period. Like, it could be like, no grit, comma, no grind, question mark, no greatness. Or like, but it just says, we have none of these things.
Oh, God.
No grit, no grind, no greatness.
And it's something that you would never notice until, like, you notice it.
Yeah, and it's like, God, that feels, in lieu of what happened here, it feels particularly dark.
I can't... Like, what's different from yesterday? What do we want to talk about today that's different from yesterday?
Well, first of all,
quotes.
To be totally transparent, didn't hear a word of the comments today made by Berube or any of the players. I've lived it. I've done it. And was expecting nothing out of it today.
Yeah, I think that's like the PR goal is don't say anything, wear it a bit.
Yeah.
Don't say anything
and
controversial.
Get out of town as quick as you can.
Yes. Get your stuff out of here. It's why they have, what do they lose? Was it Sunday night?
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday at noon, they're free to go.
Yeah, they spent the holiday Monday thinking about it, and then they fired it up and started it today. But I don't know. I find these locker cleanout days are just so pointless for the players and pointless for the coaches. Like, I really am at the point where the only people I really want to hear from at the end of the year, I guess you got to hear from the captain. I guess you got to hear from the coach. Like, I understand it. But the only real meaningful thing to me would be either the president or the general manager. Like, ultimately, you want to hear what they have to say about it, right?
That's coming
tomorrow, probably.
Soon. I'm not sure when.
Okay.
But it's coming. But it's one of those days where you think you're going to get nothing out of it, which most often you do get nothing out of it, but you can't avoid it. Mm-hmm. And the masses still want accountability, whatever that means, to show your face into a camera and come up with whatever you can. And we'll be no different in this hour. We're going to take whatever we can and break it down to say what we think it means or what the avoidance is or what we're going to read between the lines. So let's go. Let's start.
I think, and I'm not just saying this, I think that's a strength of our show. I think we, have both done enough media and seen this enough that we have some idea, who's saying what and what they want to say.
But imagine if they didn't come out today and how they would get ripped.
If they were just gone, for sure.
Right?
What did you see?
You have to do it, but I'm just talking about the general concept of a locker cleanout day is just, maybe it's just because here, like I listened to every single thing today. I listened to it live, and maybe I'm just still mad about the on-ice product, but I can't. It didn't piss me off like it has in years past because maybe I'm just used to it. Maybe it's just Stockholm. So I'm a little bit numb to it, but it just wasn't eventful as it usually is to me. Is that fair or no?
Yeah, the only messages I got were that it seems like Craig Berube hadn't heard, wasn't aware of the last few years here in Toronto where people were tired of hearing close, right? Don't care. No one cares if they were close. But anyway, let's get into it and then we'll start.
All right, let's start with the head coach's comments, opening statement, I guess we'll call it. Yep. Clip 1, Craig Berube.
Yeah, first I just want to, talk about our season. I think our team made a lot of great strides this year, did a lot of things, accomplished a lot of things. I I really enjoyed working with this group. I really like this team a lot. I like the people in the organization, the players. You know, just the buy-in from the players for me, coming in here new and fresh and changing the style, changing the focus of how we're going to play. And, you know, just the professionalism and the buy-in from the players was excellent. Right through the lineup. Work ethic and practice, work ethic in the gym, and then obviously onto the ice, the commitment they made this year. You know, we all look at Game 7 and nobody's happy, and that's understandable. But we did a lot of good things this year that I'm very proud of.
Okay. Here's a question. I do the last part, maybe. Ugh. But here's a question for you, Kip. The players did buy in and change the way they played.
Yeah.
They did. They became a different style of hockey team this year by the numbers, the analytics in terms of puck possession, shots, you know, all that sort of stuff. They got caved in this year, most of the games. But they did win a lot of hockey games, and they won big hockey games. Do you think there should be any reflection from Berube on does that style work with this team?
Yes, but I don't think he was prepared to go down that path, and I'm not sure if, in all honesty, like the majority of the media is savvy enough to have asked him that today. They're just, I mean, they most of them do a nice job. There's a few out there that are actually really in tune, but that type of sophistication that you're talking about, nobody at the rink would even ask that.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm not sure if he'd be prepared to even answer that.
Maybe that's a summertime reflection for them.
But just listening to that statement and that opening remark from him, I listened to him, and it's absolutely a guy that's still fresh and new to this. That speech that he just gave about we still did a lot of great things, and we went. That speech would have been great for this team 2 or 3 years ago.
For sure.
More than that.
We're
Like
right
2019.
It's
maybe.
just-
We're right there.
So that one would have been great for the start of something that's moving forward, or in the middle of something that's moving forward. But he's giving it at the end of something.
Well,
And
it
is. It's the end of an era in so many ways. And you don't look any further than Mitch Marner and Jonathan Tavares, or John Tavares, sorry, being at the end of the line right now. And I don't know what that means in terms of Tavares coming back or not, but if they don't, you're talking about close to 200 points out of your lineup next year. It's going to have a significant impact. And in many ways, although Matthews will come back, Nylander will come back, many of the other players, Tanev, and I don't know where Morgan Riley sits today, but many of them are coming back. It's going to be new. It's going to be the start of something new, no matter what.
It's funny, you mentioned about him being new. The phrase "we did a lot of great things," he says at the end, which kind of made me wince because God, did Sheldon Keefe get buried for a lot of respect in the handshake line this year, because we're right there. We're a tougher out. That was something that for years was like, ha ha ha.
I think, but from his perspective, and a lot to your point about him being new, for him, from his perspective, coming in first year, gets him to Game 7 in the second round against the Stanley Cup champions in a vacuum. That is a good year. They did do some good things.
Absolutely. They won the division.
But not here. Not with the scars of this fan base.
Year, is it 11 for Brendan Shanahan or 10?
I think he's through 11.
It would be 11.
Not
right?
in the 11th year of his program.
Yeah.
You can't get a pat on the back.
No.
This is, again, he's at the beginning of the end, Craig Berube.
And I think the onus is on him a little bit to know where you're at in the team's cycle as well. But it's tough for him because, like, what's he supposed to say? They didn't do anything good all year. He can't say anything about the overall success of the team. Like, he has to be his own
to break.
resume a little bit, right? And say,
Yeah.
Perspective, guys, we did, I get him saying that, but anyway, I get why people don't love it.
Yeah.
He couldn't answer the other night about what happened in Game 5 and Game 7. Did he revisit that, Sam?
Luke, our Luke Fox,
Who will join us in about half an hour?
Asked him about the between the ears comment that he made after the game, and how it affect them, and what he just basically asked him to revisit that, and this was his answer. If you want to play it, there. Clip 3.
When I talked about that and I thought about these games, last couple days, and there's a lot of things that go through your mind in these big games, from a mental standpoint. And, you may not have your A game in these games, but what you have to rely on is your structure. And when I look at these games and I look at the situations that arrived and, hurt us in these games, we lost our structure. And that's very important that we take this away and that we come back next year. Structure is very important. And if you don't lose your structure, you can get through these games without having your A game.
Chris.
We have, the organization has.
Structure, then Berube says. I've heard that before. What did you?
Yeah, I don't like it because I don't like it because there's a team on the other side that will take a look at your structure and shut it down
and break it.
Pound right through.
To keep asking them to go back to the structure that's getting shut down by your opposition is no good. So either you make adjustments or you change your structure.
Or you lose.
It's not working. And for him to keep going back and ask them to do the things that aren't working is not helpful in trying to beat the Florida Panthers.
It's funny because the same thing that has earned him a lot of praise lately, that patience and that consistency of message, can easily be spun to stubbornness and an unwillingness to adapt.
Or adjust.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's what we saw at times there, where it was like, all right, we just got to do this one thing better. And they kept trying to do the one thing better. And it's like, what if that's not the right one thing to be doing? And I think by the end of it, when you lose by 5 goals in Game 5 and lose by 5 goals in Game 7, even if you had done the thing better, would you lose by 3, 2? You lose. So, I don't know. There's some frustration there.
Listen, for us and for people watching, we praise. Hey, patience, great. He's calm, great. As long as you're winning, right?
Yeah.
But when you don't start winning and you try to stay consistent with it, and sometimes you can work your way through it and then it can come back in your favor. Listen, we're like the wind, man. You win, no one's going to say anything bad about your structure or your system or your patience or your calmness, but you gotta win. You gotta come out on top. And when you don't, people are gonna question it, and people have a right to question Craig Berube.
Yeah, and I think this is maybe the first time, when they've finally lost here, where you kind of hear some people going, maybe we won't default to everything he says and does is exactly correct. For a lot of the season, first year, benefit of the doubt and all that. But throughout the year, one of our criticisms was, let's try a couple of things here. Let's see if it works with this guy here or that guy there, or try a second system, a second breakout. Never really happened. And then come playoffs, it did end up being, I would say somewhat to our credit, that ended up being what undid them at the end.
And, to the structure thing, so it's not between, doesn't everything go when you're nervous? Like, aren't you like,
Just
you
not
got
thinking clear.
You lean back on your structure, being in your quote unquote. I've said structure more times than I've said it in my life in this last 5 minutes. But like, isn't that part of what goes where you forget where you're supposed to be? You're not, getting to your spot. Like, I'm not X's and O's here, but like being nervous and being afraid in a big game probably affects that structure. So,
what's interesting is the story, Kip, that I'm hearing the most since the Leafs have won is this pressure story.
They lost.
What's that?
Since they lost?
Since they lost. Yeah,
You
whatever.
said since they won.
Oh, my bad. Since they lost is pressure.
Yeah.
And the pressure of the market and the pressure these guys are under and whatever. And I know we're going to talk about that, and these guys were asked about it a little bit. I got to tell you, I didn't hear one player on the Leafs say that the pressure got to them. I didn't hear a single guy say it, and that's good. It's like a story that came from the media only, and typically I'm not the
No, it was the Panthers.
Sure.
The Panthers did it.
Sure, if the Panthers want to be the ones being like, they felt the pressure, that's fine. I haven't heard anyone. Everyone's like, these players who say they can't handle the pressure, they don't want to be in the market, or they can't. None of the players have said anything. This has been entirely the Florida Panthers. So I don't, we're all over these guys for talking about not wanting to handle the pressure of the market. None of them said it.
I don't think we've ever really had conversations that they buckle under pressure.
Well,
I think we asked the question, why do they continually underperform in the big moments? And pressure's a viable answer to that.
But
none of them have ever claimed it.
But boys, we are part of the pressure. The pressure is a ecosystem of us that talk about it every day, the fans that care about it more than any other team, like just the ecosystem of pressure. We don't be like, you got to do this or else. But it's all
Do I
encompassing.
feel sometimes if you're losing your confidence and you've got this market and crazy number of people that follow you on social media or mainstream doesn't get to you, it has to.
Of course it does.
It does.
But that's because everyone cares and is paying attention, which is exactly what you want if you're an athlete.
But it's not sneaking up on you either. For some of these guys that have been around 8 or 9 years.
Willie said it's all he knows.
Yeah.
Like he got asked about it. He's like, it's all I know.
That's why when they lose 3 regular season games in a row, Willie goes, what's the big deal? He's been mired
But
in
he's smart enough to say, what's the big deal? Not to say what's the big deal in the playoffs.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
You're right. You pick your spots there a little
so,
bit.
Doesn't really matter.
I don't know. I mean, again, they're just trying to defend it a little bit. I honestly, God, I tell Florida, just shut up.
I know.
We don't need you. We don't need you. We don't need your sympathy. Just scram, beat it. Go play your Carolina Hurricanes and get out of our town.
Yeah, speaking of vacuums. And I do think that this is where there's some legitimate jealousy from a team like Florida, who is on the cusp of, whether you call them a dynasty or greatness or whatever you want to call it. And it's not that loud. It's not all that whatever. So I think for them, it's like they get to point at the Toronto market and go, oh, that would suck. I wouldn't want that. It's like, you'd kill for that.
Yeah, you had 10 people at your Stanley Cup parade on the beach.
While you're having the success, you'd kill for it.
Yeah.
So I do think that that's why it's coming from Florida more than from Toronto. We're going to talk about the pressure because it is a story now, but I'm just saying I'm taking the Leafs guys off the hook on it because I haven't heard them say a word.
It was every question to every guy at the availability was, I think, the first question.
The first thing that comes to mind is they're not as good as the Panthers.
Sure.
And that's
fair take.
Flip their cities. Is it any different?
That's it. You want to go and find little sorry excuses like pressure, dog ate my homework. I don't know, but no, you just weren't as good as them. And if we went down the roster and we said, Barkov or Matthews,
We did this yesterday.
right? You take 6 of those guys before you take most of the Leafs.
The pressure factor, again, I'm not saying it's a non-factor into why these guys don't have big game success. I'm saying they haven't used it as a crutch because I do think it has some impact in terms of those guys in these playoff series. But
Sure.
I'm just saying none of them have said that's why it's happened or used it as
Do you
an
want
excuse.
Tavares' comments on pressure?
I thought Tavares and Matthews. Did I put the Matthews one in here? I thought I did. I did. Okay. Put the Matthews one on pressure first, please, Derek.
I don't think that's ever really something that
gets talked about too much or too much of a focus on. I think it's the nature of playing in here. It kind of comes with the territory, and like I said before, I think it's an amazing place to play. I love playing in Toronto and playing for this fan base and this organization, and I think that kind of stuff is just kind of outside noise that isn't really focused on or talked about too much in our locker room, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe him.
I do too. I wish I believe them that they don't pay attention to as much as I think they do pay attention quite a bit. But he's saying the right thing there for sure.
Let's play Berube clip 2 on the pressure.
Greg, there's lots of talk about fan and media pressure in this market. There's pressure in lots of big markets and lots of teams are successful. Where do you land on that as an explanation for the team's shortcomings?
Like you just said it, and there's pressure everywhere. I don't care where you're playing. If you're playing in that Game 7 and you're in Columbus, there's pressure to win. Okay, the only pressure that we should feel is right inside the locker room from each other. That's honestly my opinion.
Why is it always them against the pressure of the fans? It's just, we've talked about this before, but it's just such a...
Well, no, it starts there, though.
Statement.
It starts there.
I know, but
it starts with being accountable beside the guy that you're getting dressed with, Sammy.
Which I totally understand.
Yeah, and that's all. That's all Craig's talking about.
And it should be. And I understand that. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing. If you're going to win, you have to love the guys you're in the locker room that you're about to go to battle with against the Florida Panthers. I understand that. But at the same time, you do kind of have to know that this means a lot to people. And saying that you're blocking them out or that doesn't get inside the room, having that be one of the mission statements of your team for 9 years really pisses people off.
It's actually funny to use that energy. We channel that.
I see what you're saying. And it's dismissive of him to exclude everybody outside the locker room.
And quite frankly, it's leading to a lot of people that are pretty sick of this stuff with us against the fans. And, they barely said the word fans today. I listened to everything. I bet you they said fans 2 times out of every single person. And it's listen, I know the fans don't win any games. They don't play any, but that's the it matters. This is a big time club with the biggest fan base in the sport. They should have some bearing on what you do. You should have some pride. I'm sorry.
Would have been nice for one of them to say, we're sorry.
We're sorry to the fans again.
We disappointed you.
But they've never said that.
I know.
Ever.
I know you're right.
Ever.
Sam, I can sit here and tell you I see your point of view.
Thank you. That's all I need to hear.
100%.
I'll shut up.
Because of my world and where I've come from, and maybe the players are the same way. They forget that. Maybe it's someone like you someone like you is the perfect person to remind them of that.
But you know what?
You just did it to me.
But Kip, I'm torn on this because I've, spent time with recent NHLers who I've heard say the fans aren't owed anything. They get to be.
Oh gosh, they pay tickets to come and see you.
Right, they pay your salary.
They are owed an honest effort.
Okay.
Don't, Justin, please tell me whoever says that to you, you just tell them that.
Yeah.
Okay, they paid good money, and in Toronto, because the prices are so exorbitant, it's even harder.
Yeah.
That's what's happened here. Is people don't mind paying $1,200 to sit in the upper row.
To see a giver.
But not for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big issue right now.
Would it absolutely kill the captain of the Maple Leafs to come out and be like, we know how bad you want it, and we're sorry what happened the other night. It wasn't good enough. We want to be better. Do you know how far that would go?
Yeah.
And it's just, I talked about this yesterday.
It wouldn't hurt.
Yes. And it's just never, ever, they've never seemed to care outwardly about letting us down.
I feel like it's, take it for granted, right? You're going to be back next year.
Guess what?
Yeah.
Bang on.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Toronto Maple Leafs, the organization, the ticket prices, all that stuff, they could use a little bit of less loyalty, like I talked about yesterday, where they just know.
I do think that wears thin eventually. Like,
No,
people
I
won't
mean,
keep coming back forever.
How many?
Will they?
I mean, feels like they weren't going to come back.
That's true.
Feels like they would have been around
Yeah.
this time. So I don't know. It feels like they don't.
Where do you guys want to go? You want to stick with Auston? Did he mention injuries?
He did talk about injuries today.
Is that a big story?
I mean, all this stuff is whatever. Like, it's all varying degrees, but we can listen to Matthews' clip on his injuries. Clip 1, please, Derek.
Yeah, it was tough. Definitely, physically, it was a very tough season. I don't, need to get into like the specifics of stuff, but got injured in training camp. Obviously wasn't feeling great throughout the first month or so of the season. Took some time off. Went to Germany, did all these things to try to feel better. Then just kind of in a place that felt like I could manage it. There was obviously some good stretches where I felt good. There were some stretches where I didn't feel very good. Definitely a tough year physically, but I'm confident with some time off and just going through my own process and stuff like that, and treatment and everything. I'm really confident I'll be back 100% next season, and there's nothing really to worry about.
Okay, so sorry.
Can you share with us what happened, or
you
like to be private?
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it between myself.
Did it impact your ability?
It impacted your ability to shoot. It impacted everything. That's what he said.
Impacted everything.
So
I think it impacted a lot of different things for sure.
And then there's another part where, again, Luke Fox, who's coming up here, asked him, is there any reason, what is the reason that you won't tell us, basically? Which
Good
is
for you,
a
Luke.
very fair question.
Yeah.
And it's like, and his response was, because I can.
Do you think if he's going to go down the path of telling you how difficult it was or when it happened, that, you might as well just go all the way with the truthfulness? Now somebody told me Chris Tanev came out and talked more specifically
Yeah, he
about
said he
his
had
injuries.
sternoclavicular injury during the season where his sternum meets his clavicle, and it was a struggle, but it
How
felt,
come it's easy for him to say that and Matthews can't do the same?
I don't know.
I mean, it's like, yeah.
By the way, I've
Matthews
had
made-
a sternoclavicular injury, and it is, I
I'm not
still
even
feel
gonna
it.
attempt to pronounce that.
Sternoclavicular. I still can't do push-ups without feeling
Chest.
it.
I can't do push-ups
Chest
for
meets
different
the
reasons than that.
Collarbone.
But like, you think he's worried about getting targeted, I guess. That's what Matthew said. But like, Tanev took 110 hits in the playoffs. They were targeting him for shit.
You know what Matthew sounds like to me? He sounds like your teenager who you're not sure what they did the night before, and they're trying to explain their night without giving you any specifics. They're going, yeah, we just went out with some friends, and we were downtown for a bit, and then we went back to Dave's house.
There's
All
this,
right, what'd you do?
There's this skunk in the area, and it's the smell of it stuck to my clothes for some reason. I don't know.
I've got bad allergies today.
My eyes are really red.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
I think maybe it might be an injury that could hold a stigma.
Because it's like play-throughable type of thing? Is that what you think?
We did play through it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, for instance, and again, I know we've talked about this, but it's always been speculated, and I'll continue to speculate here. I don't know what his injury is. But if he has back issues, and he says I had back issues, then every time he goes through stretches, it will arise. He's got back issues. And when you got a shoulder injury and it heals in 4 to 6 weeks, it kind of disappears. But players with back issues
Just have back issues.
will always have back issues.
Yeah, that ain't going away.
They don't go away. And it keeps, and like Wendell's the perfect example, guys. Like, here's a guy that was great in Toronto, and they had back issues, and it shut down his career. Okay, and it never went away. And I don't know, maybe he's worried that if he comes out and publicly says that, then he's going to have this. He's got back issues the rest of his career.
Well, it also, that could actually affect his bottom line, right? Like if you're negotiating your next contract as a UFA or whatever it is, and people go, hey, he's got those
Yes,
back issues.
You're right.
Like
A guy with back issues.
Yeah.
back issues is like the biggest red flag.
The-
if you're
the
going to sign
worst.
somebody to a contract,
You're
it's
right.
like back issues.
You're right.
It's like knee and back are the two things.
I would suspect that he had advice to say, don't say it. If he's got back issues. I don't know what he has.
Well, who knows?
I had also heard the wrist thing is like, on and off and can flare up. And so,
okay, we got a couple more minutes. We have not addressed any talk about Brendan Shanahan. That seems to be out in the open. I went on Sportsnet Central with Ivanka and Ken. I said I don't expect him back, but love your thoughts, guys.
I mean, I'm just not super informed. Like to me, it's logically, if you're talking about having seen through a plan to what you think might be the end of it, it didn't work. And if you'd like to go in a different direction, then sure.
Well, what would you like to see? You like to see him back, or you think it's time to move on?
And I know this sucks for radio. I'm not passionate about this. I think he is run a good organization, right? They consistently make playoffs. They haven't had scandals. He handles himself with professionalism. I don't think that they have reached the goal that the plan was set out to reach. And so, you said yesterday, you talked about, is MLSE just content with making playoffs or whatever? You think it does matter to them? Like, I think they would look at his tenure with some contentedness that it has gone well.
Yes, you're right.
And I think a lot of fans would say, but we're not any closer to what the goal is supposed to be. It's been 11 years. Let someone else try.
Where do you think Leaf Nation is at trying again, or
I think
re-signing Brendan Shanahan to a new contract?
Regardless of how much of all of this failure in the playoffs is his responsibility, I think at this point now, he is sort of a face of it, a figurehead of it, if you will, where a lot of Leafs Nation would be, if you brought him back another year or he signed another contract to be the president of the Leafs for a longer term, a lot of Leaf fans would have a lot of pushback to that just because it's just what it represents and the failures in big games and the lack of
and
seeming
acceptance
heart.
of mediocrity.
Exactly. But I don't know. The grass is always greener here, boys. You could let Brendan Shanahan go. They bring somebody else, and it may not work. I have no idea. But I think he probably will go. I can't imagine. I don't know. I'm the least informed person on this. But I'm just saying.
Well, you don't need to be. You just need to be.
I just think it's got to be over.
That's just your opinion, right?
I think it's got to be over. I can't imagine everybody just being like, yeah, let's do it again. I mean, if Marner's going, if Tavares is going, it feels like a pretty natural trio.
The only thing,
to me.
the other thing we have to consider too is that there's a major shift in ownership now, and we know where that's heading with our bosses on the top floor here.
Yeah.
And if there's going to be a change in ownership, then this would probably be the best time to make other changes moving forward as well. I mean, are we going to keep hearing MLSE? Is there going to be a new name to the company? So many changes could happen based on these results.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, Kip, well, so you think it's likely that he would go?
I'm expecting changes. Yes.
And so if that happens, I am curious what effect that could have beneath it. We often see, a new GM wants to get his own head coach. Like Treliving's done, I think, a pretty universally accepted great job here, right? Carlo and Tana have remade the defense, and I think people are generally happy with the job he's done in just 2 short years.
Again, I'm like you. I have no knowledge. This is not inside information. This is not anything like that. But I have a sense that we could see the disappearance of the president of hockey ops. We could just see it to the point where Brendan, we've mutually decided to part ways, or we're not extending a new contract out, and we just see that position disappear.
Yeah.
And Brad Treliving goes on as normal as a general manager, and
there's a new president
there's a new coach.
The company. Right?
No, there is a president already. His name's Keith Pelly.
Right. So Keith Pelly hangs on to that spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's it. And if that's the case and they go consistent, then there's a basketball guy too. Masai,
Yeah.
I don't know whether or not he keeps his president's job.
Right.
Like, again, if they're going to restructure, maybe now's the time to do it.
You know, I think it's really weird how hockey teams have created this president role above. The GM was the GM. He made all the decisions on trades forever. And then in the last few years, the president is now a hockey guy. President used to mean you dealt with the tickets and the marketing and all that stuff. And now it's it's the GM's
and they're
supervisor.
And they got to evaluate that. Brendan Shanahan was one of the highest paid executives in the National Hockey League.
Right.
But to your point, where's the value of having a guy oversee a guy who's not making all the decisions on his own and has you to put a stamp of approval on it? Because let's face it, I mean, the buck stopped with Brendan Shanahan, whether it was Kyle Dubas, Lou Lamoriello, Babcock, or anybody else. Everything had to go through the guy that had the two hands on the wheel.
Buddy, when I was with the Marlies, we had games where Shanny would be sitting in there with the penalty kill with us and going, here's the rotation you guys are using. This guy's got to do he was hands on. He was around.
He was it.
Yeah.
He was it. And until he's gone, he's still it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know whether or not they want to pay big bucks for that anymore.
Right.
We should go, but it feels like we probably get some news on this somewhat soon, wouldn't you? If something's going to happen.
I believe that they won't let this go
too long.
Okay. I think by the end of the week, we should have some sort of understanding whether Brendan Shanahan is still a part of this or not.
Yeah, even if whatever their decision, there probably needs to be a statement of that decision, even if it's, hey, we've extended them, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we return, Luke Fox, Leafs and NHL writer for Sportsnet.ca, will join us. He was at the rink. We'll get his thoughts on where the Leafs go from here. That more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the program. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. All right.
Hold on quickly. Before we've already been kept Luke waiting too long. We yacked so long that first block. But I just wanted to say, a reminder to golf fans out there, Sportsnet and Muskoka Bay Resort have come together with an amazing contest. Text the word Muskoka to 59590 for your chance to golf at one of Canada's top 10 ranked courses with a night in an incredible 3-bedroom villa for you and 3 friends. Just text the word Muskoka to 59590 for your chance to win. Visit sportsnet.ca/590 contest for more details. Standard message and data rates may apply.
Good reading, Samuel.
Thank you, buddy.
Yep, that was well done.
Thank you.
All right, regular contributor to our show, does a terrific job all season long. Luke Fox will join us now. Luke, how are you, pal?
Doing pretty good.
Did you bother going down to locker room clean out, or did you just look at your notes from last year?
I wasted the gas and put on a suit. Yeah, I went through the whole thing. Lived Groundhog Day. So my 9th locker clean out in a row that they all blur together at this point, Nick.
So in saying that, what was the biggest takeaway that you had today?
It's tough. There were little things. I loved Matthew Nyes' response when someone brought up the term offer sheet, and he just, shot that down right away, saying how he believes his best chance to win is as a Maple Leaf, and that's why he's coming back. He didn't get into the term that he wanted, but I like how definitive he was about that. So I know there's some fans that were worried about that. I think you can put that to rest. Mitch Marner continues to talk about his time as a Leaf in the past tense. I think we've all read the tea leaves there, and that ship has sailed. John Tavares said that he already talked to Berube and Tree Living and had positive feedback and was optimistic about re-signing.
Yeah.
The trick there is, are we 100% sure that Tree Living's coming back? They haven't set a date for the management press conference, which will be the last one we go to. And from what I'm hearing, they're still making decisions, and there could be changes way up top. So I think what's going to be even more interesting compared to what the players have to say, which is kind of like last day of school. You're not going to change your grade on the last day of school. Say some stuff, get out of there. I think what's more interesting is what happens above them.
Yeah, that is interesting. So there's not really a world, I don't think, where they just say, Brad Treliving doesn't come back because of performance necessarily, so much as just like changes at the top could affect people. Is that my understanding there?
Yeah, I think for the most part, the performance was good. There's things on the fringes like, signing Yanni Hakanpää, and there's little things you can nitpick, but he completely remolded the decor. I really love the blue line. The Chris Tanev signing was a stroke of brilliance. And that was his top priority in free agency last year. Dealing with the core four, he was his hands were tied in the no move clauses. He improved the goaltending. The Leafs are going to go in with one of the cheapest, best goaltending tandems again next year. So he's done a lot of good things. I think it's more so the whole team is under new ownership in Rogers that calls the shots and doesn't have to go to a board or through Larry Tannenbaum anymore. And the fact that Shanahan's contract is up. And if you're making changes top down, I think it's a sense of everything's on the table.
Yeah, I just talking about, the decision on whether to keep Brendan or not, that's one thing. But to kind of wipe out Brendan and Treliving and then leaving Berube to a new decision maker, to me, very seldom happens. Mm-hmm. So I believe if there is one change, for me, it would be Brendan without completely, and that might just be enough to eliminate that job title and keep Treliving. And I think you're right. I think he hasn't had enough time. Like we're talking about a stretch of 10 years with Brendan Shanahan, but we're only talking a stretch of 2 for Treliving. And we're all in agreement that the changes were changes for the better. They just happened too late under the Shana plan.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Nick. I think his performance has earned him another shot. And I feel like, yeah, he's been here 2 years, but it really only feels like 1 year that he got to make his stamp. 1 year with the coach he went and chose. 1 year with the blue line that he actually really likes. So I absolutely believe that he deserves another chance. I'm just saying the sense I'm getting is there could be a lot of changes. And maybe it's not him. Maybe it's an assistant GM. But I feel like it might go beyond just Shanahan.
All right. Well, that's going to be fascinating to keep an eye on. Something we didn't get to in the first hour was the goaltending. Anthony Stolarz, he had a concussion. Doesn't think it was the first puck, is my understanding there. What did Stolarz have to say about his injury in the postseason?
Yeah, he was pretty adamant about that. Borny, he said, I've taken so many shots off the mask, and it was 45 minutes later. He was pretty clear that had nothing to do with it in his mind. And, it's his head. I trust him. But he also said that, Sam Bennett, ex-teammate of his, went to the same Stanley Cup parade as him. He said he didn't think it was malicious. He talked to him after, wished him luck. And he was even asked, how would you feel about these nasty guys, Bennett and Ekblad, free agents? How would you feel about them joining the Leafs next year? And he said he'd be fine with that. So,
everyone loves winning.
And it's actually a really smart way. Whether he believes it or not is another story, but it's a smart thing to say.
You're watching Luke Fox from the Leafs and Sportsnet.ca covering today's festivities down at Scotiabank Arena. Let me ask you something, just staying on the goaltending. Luke, were you surprised to see Stolarz backing up Game 7? That one came out of the blue for me.
It was a stunner because we go to morning skate at Game 7. He doesn't even have a stall. He doesn't participate in morning skate. Now, maybe he skated out in the practice facility, but Hildeby and Murray were right there. He had never had a team practice. It was just solo work with Curtis Sanford. What if Joseph Woll, tweaked a knee in the first period? You're throwing in a guy that's pretty cold. I was a little surprised. Now, he said it's because he was good to go. I wonder if there was a little bit of emotion for the boys. Hey, look who's back in the locker room all of a sudden. We're going out here. I wonder if maybe that was a bit of it, or just Berube would rather an unpracticed Stolars over his other options.
Honestly, if it was that emotional part that you're talking about, I would have put him in at 3-0.
You know, it's not an unreasonable point. He's there. Maybe put him in.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
Didn't happen.
Change the momentum, something. Yeah. I mean,
listen,
I felt like over once they got to 2.
I know you're
Look,
right.
I'm not sure how much you've caught earlier in our show, but our Sammy McKee made a plea that he didn't think that there was enough sincerity from the players to, I don't know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but almost apologize to the fans.
Well, did you more like just recognize what the fans have been through over the last little bit?
Did you get a sense that, people might be looking for that, or they were going out of their way to avoid it? What were your overall vibes on that connection?
I feel like the fans are looking for some of that. And I feel like the lack of that, not just today, but over the course of years, has created this really strange and, to me, very unnecessary divide between the players and the people who adore them. I hate the word noise, the outside noise. Let's replace that with caring. Imagine you said every time, we're trying to ignore the caring. We're trying to block out the caring.
People are too interested.
How would that go over? Because that's what the noise is. It's people who are talking about your team.
Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. Can me and you spend 5 minutes on social media, and can I show you clips of what you call caring?
There's some hate caring going on.
Yeah.
Really,
Sure.
really. Like, I know what you're trying to say, but it's vicious out there for some of them and their families.
Yes, I recognize that.
Okay.
But I think those are some bad vocal apples. Like, I talk to Leaf fans every day of my life. A lot of them just want to debate different things that are going on with the team, signings, how are they playing, can they win? They just kind of love them unconditionally. For sure, online is a dangerous place to go, Nick. But I agree. There is some criticism out there, but I think by and large, a lot of it is people who are supporting the team, that are investing their money in really expensive tickets.
Maybe they should just address them only.
Yeah. Separate those other people somehow. So you said Tavares mentioned that he's positive about the potential of another contract. What do you think that hinges on?
Well, let's see who's running the team first.
Okay. Good point.
Yeah. And then go from there. And I think a lot of it will be how much is he willing to bend? Mm-hmm. We know he'll take a little bit less, but Steven Stamkos wanted to stay, but there comes a point where there's a pride in the dollar figure you accept. Yeah. He wants to stay. His family's here. He's made it very clear. But even someone who wants to stay has set.
Why don't you take the minimum then and just leave it all to getting a defenseman?
That's what I'm saying. He's not Jason Spezza, right?
37-year-old.
He scored 38 last year.
38.
Joe Pavelski scored 36 or something at his age and got 3 times 7 the next year.
Anyways, hey, we got all week to debate that. Luke, we got to go, buddy. Sammy's waving me off like an 0-2 fastball right now.
Okay. See you
Thanks
guys.
for joining us, eh?
Thanks, Luke.
Luke Fox from Sportsnet.ca. But we were sat here and said, what are we going to talk about? And it's like,
we could have done a 3-hour show. I have so many more things.
Well, good. We got another hour tomorrow.
Quickly, before we gotta go. People say really mean stuff online about every walk of life.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like being like, oh, they're mean on Twitter at least, they're mean on Instagram at least. Every single player on every single fan base, that's a big one, gets the exact same stuff. So it's not unique to Toronto.
All right.
And there's meanies everywhere.
All right.
There's meanies everywhere.
Booze bag today.
They're all your friends, Sammy.
Buddy, my DMs are a wasteland. Wasteland. Anyways.
Okay. We're going to take another crack at it tomorrow on Leaf Edition.
All right.
Do we have
to solve something.
Yes, we do.
In the meantime, let's go national next with Steve Valiquette, analyst for the Rangers, CEO Clearsight Analytics. I can't wait to hear his numbers, the data. Tell me, useful or useless? Next on Real Kyper and Bourne. We are national On the Real Kyper and Bourne Show, we are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee in a few minutes. It's Tuesday, which means Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG, also CEO of ClearSight Analytics. Some I like, some I don't like, but somehow, some way, he always hooks me in on the numbers.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember, but the other day we were talking about Bobrovsky and his his breakaway save percentage. We were basically I was saying, I think this guy's really good on breakaways. Florida gives up a pile of breakaways. It turns out Bob's not that great at it. Valley sent me a very thoughtful video to explain it to me, like the plebe that I am. And it's incredible the data this guy has. The amount of things you can click.
It does help when fourth liners are taking the breakaway.
It's Lawton. It's Lorenz. It's breakaway season.
The Forsling back check on Lorenz when it seemed like it was, he took 2 strides and caught up to Lorenz, gets the stick in there, doesn't let him get a good shot away. Like it was.
Are you talking about the 1 Game 7 they shot into Bob? Because there's also the Lorenz.
Not the Lorenz. The Lorenz one was a clean shoot into the chest.
Right, but he also had one earlier in the series that I thought maybe you're talking about.
But no, the one that Lawton had, Forsling got back on the back check and disrupted him enough so he couldn't elevate it or whatever. That Forsling's such a good player.
He made a good play on a Willie breakaway.
And on Lawton, I think, too.
Oh, and Lawton.
Yeah.
Not Lorenz. Okay.
No, Lawton on the back check.
Stanley Cup Conference. Just 4 teams left.
And shout out to our own Mark Spector, who noted that in the last 3 years, that means there's 12 spots in the Final Four, right?
Yeah.
10 of those have gone to these 4 teams.
Really? Yeah.
So it's Dallas's 3 straight years. Edmonton's been there 3 or 4 times.
And Carolina
3 times. Florida. Wow.
And that starts tonight, game 1, Florida Panthers at Carolina Hurricanes, 8 p.m. Eastern on Sportsnet. And already Matthew Tkachuk's pissing people off.
What do you do?
You sent a tweet about the room.
Yeah, the room. The media room is right beside their workout area.
Yeah.
So what did he do?
So
he caused a ruckus.
Yeah. As soon as the Jordan Staal and I think Martinook presser started, he was slinging the medicine ball against the wall to disrupt it because they're not pleased with where the workout spot is, nor should they. Or sorry, where the presser spot is.
This guy will do anything but score a goal to help his team. Eh?
Oh boy.
Oh, Sam, he's probably playing with half a groin.
Oh, just like Matthew said, everybody's playing hurt this time of year. Anyways, I can't stand
no
it.
passes from McKee.
I'm so sick of it.
No passes.
Yeah.
Few sour grapes still there.
Absolutely. But I mean, that's just
a bunch of them.
A bushel?
Vineyard.
Yeah, thank you. It's like a bushel of grapes.
I think that would have worked.
Okay,
bushel would have done.
So
thanks.
I'll ask Steve Valiquette, but before he joins us, just get your thoughts on the 4 goaltenders going into this conference. Has Skinner and Pickard in Edmonton given you enough faith that now that
no,
they'll go up against Ottinger?
I believe that their team is good enough to help them go up against them. And God, guys, Skinner's had you know, one thing I'm going to ask Valley when we get him on is what type of game works for Skinner and what type does Dallas play? Because Skinner, I believe, is a poor rush goaltender. If I listened to Valley correctly,
I think you're right.
Year.
That seems right.
And Dallas to me doesn't seem like a streaky, speeding. It's Rantanen and Ben and Sagan and Duchesne and Robertson. Like it's not burners to me. So I think this may be a series that works for Skinner. He may come out of this one looking like gold.
Worked last year. Remember Game 6? They scored. I think they won 1-0. Didn't they give up 40-something shots in that game?
A weird hockey brain.
You don't remember that?
I'm like that with like maybe golf courses I've played. I don't remember the Oilers' 6th game of the conference final.
McDavid toe drag into the middle, backhand top corner, only goal of the game.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah,
that was a nice one too.
Really
from the
nice.
left side into that pretty low. Yeah,
I think Skinner had maybe a 50 or 40 save shutout in that game. So maybe
okay.
I don't know.
Bobrovsky versus Freddie Anderson on the other side.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, if Freddie Anderson or Stu Skinner win the Stanley Cup, there's going to be a lot of splaining to do for some people who wrote these guys off.
You think this is the year? Do you really believe that this is the year that Freddie sees this like right through without disappearing?
No.
You still wait. Valley, I don't believe for 1 second Valley thinks he's going to make it.
The one great thing about being a lifelong Freddie Anderson hater.
How do you be a Freddie hater?
Nah,
Because
that's a strong word,
You can be
Sam.
indifferent.
I'm a hater.
Freddie.
I'm a hater.
No,
Like, not
you're-
like I
hey,
hate him as a person.
Dislike.
I'm a hater.
No.
I've been like you.
Dislike.
Dislikers not a
Be a
class of people,
disliker.
though.
Okay, I'm a
Haters are.
disliker, and as a career disliker
Thank you.
of Freddie Anderson, the advantage of it is all you really have to do is wait,
Yeah.
because eventually
You're gonna be validated.
something is
That's
coming.
a true confidence that he can't come through.
All right, let's welcome him in. Steve Valiquette, CEO of ClearSight Analytics. Valley, how are you, pal? Thanks for joining us. Now, were you raised to know that hate's a strong word and, your parents
I
preferred dislike?
And you know what, Kyper? It's tough to bring the temperature up right now, so I wrote a eulogy for Sammy.
Oh,
What the,
boy.
whoa, what
boy.
the hell?
This is a story about the core four.
Oh my God!
Oh, no.
Everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was a game 7 to win, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did. Somebody got angry on the bench because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody, and when nobody did what anybody could have done.
You
God.
absolutely did not write that.
Hey,
Where is that from? That's great.
Dr. Seuss.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Hey, listen,
Green
guys,
eggs and ham.
we're not in the playoffs either. I've got lots of time on my hands.
Fantastic.
I found it. It's great. Charles
Wow.
Swindle. It's really good. What's
Okay.
the hat? Hold on. What's the hat? It's a great bucket.
Oh, this is my son's high school, Fairfield Prep.
Very cool. I like the under the brim too. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's start where your expertise, I believe, is the strongest, and that is between the pipes. We've got 4 goalies between Ottinger and Skinner, let's just say, to start, and Freddie and Bob. Who's trending highest here going into the Final Four?
The hothouse plant, Frederick Anderson. Do you guys know what a hothouse plant is?
Tomatoes?
No, hothouse plant. It's a saying that it's an expression, an old Italian expression, and you need perfect soil, sunlight, wind
Yeah.
to grow.
Is that for is that for everybody or somebody?
It's got to be your ball.
I'm wondering, I heard you before I came on, Kipper. I'm wondering if Freddie could push through here. I have had this in the back of my mind for 10 years. Before he joined Toronto, I had heard from one of his goalie coaches that he was the weakest of all goalies he's ever coached mentally. So that's always been in my head. Always been in my head.
Oh, boy.
And when I find, these instances where he has relief to bail, I wonder if he's going to push through, and I hope he does. I don't know. It's all mental for him. It's not all mental for everybody, but for him, it's all mental. But he's the highest performing goalie. He should believe in himself going into this, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can push through. But I don't think it's going to be a technical component that misses or misfires is the reason why Carolina gets eliminated. It'll be mental. But right now in the top 3 is Ottinger. He's really come on. Now, do you guys remember the save that he made from the slot against Kyle Connor in the elimination game where he made it with his blocker? And it was a really nice pass from the corner, second period, big blocker save. I'm sitting at home and I'm saying to myself, you know what? That's what goaltending looks like. Now, I back it up a little bit and I watch it again, and I still have a little bit of a question mark, which with how wide he gets. Wide is really important to me because when you get too wide, pucks seem to go through you, under you. If you're pre-scouted really well by a goalie coach from the opposition, they will know that when the goalie gets wide before the release, it is time to pass off pads or pass the puck. If you have to shoot it, it's under the hands, and that's where he's been weak a little bit. But overall, he's been really the second strongest performing goalie that's still eligible. Going down the list, everybody else seems to be about mid-margin, but Stuart Skinner, in the shutouts that he had, now the final game, game 5, he only faced one high danger chance, so it wasn't much of a game. Now, in the previous game, he had 7. That's the game where I watched at home and I said to myself, he has played deeper. He's coming across different. He's moving better and he's moving less distance. But one thing that I thought that I saw that he changed was that he was, instead of opening up his skate for a T-push, he was double shuffling. Now, why is that important? Because you're always square. If there's a broken play, the toe caps of your skates never open up, so you never have to close it back down. And he's getting across smoother. He's not a rush goalie, Borny. As you said before we got on, he's not. One of the worst over the last 5 years. But if he can help himself by backing up, playing deeper, beating pass, and Edmonton, and I can see why Connor McDavid was a little irked at the comment that, we don't know how to defend. They've defended really well in the last few games, and specifically against shutting off the rush against.
Is there a specific type of game where Stu Skinner can look the best?
It'll be in zone.
And
in
does
zone.
Dallas do that?
Yeah, well, Dallas, so you know what? I was relatively interested in this. Dallas, they had a pretty good series and a pretty good series off the rush as well as east to west. So it's not like they're a team that you have to only worry about them in zone. Their numbers are good. I've got papers coming out of my ears here, so I can't find it at this moment. But no, their numbers are very good. Dallas is not going to be easy for him to play against.
Okay.
But if the Edmonton Oilers can bring the play into the zone and just let them settle in and play it that way, that would be advantageous for them for sure.
No question, Ottinger was the better goalie of the league MVP or close to of it in Hellebuyck here. So there's got to be a huge advantage now for Ottinger over Skinner or maybe Pickard down the road.
Look, I just found the sheet that I was looking for, which was east to west opportunities that have ended up in goals. And Dallas actually is leading the playoffs with 36 east to west plays. And so Edmonton is second with 33. Both goalies are going to be moving in this series. This could open up. Didn't you guys think the Colorado-Dallas series was really wide open? It was off the rush and it was go, go, go. I don't think we're going to, what it's like? It's these teams are going to try and come out in the first period, feel each other out, and then a hockey game breaks out. Everybody gets away from what the coaches want them to do, and they just want to go because the egos step up, and there's certainly a lot of high-powered offense on both sides. If I was going to grade the best depth offense in the NHL through all 4 lines, I'd give it to Dallas. And I've been saying that since Christmas. And so that's something to consider too. I mean, Edmonton's going to have to really shut it down because they're going to want it. These are the top 2 teams, as I said, in east to west offense, looking for opportunities that way.
Valley, you sent me some really interesting stuff, and I appreciate that. Thank you on Bobrovsky and breakaways and how he looks.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's not as great as I thought he was in conclusion. However, though, Carolina, that's a fast team that creates a lot of action on there. Your thoughts on Bob versus Carolina here?
Yeah, so I think that when you're talking about Bobrovsky, I think that sometimes you get surprised because he has the look. He has the look where he's over his skates and he really looks like he's hovering over you.
Yeah.
And he did look commanding in that breakaway that he faced against Lorentz. Now, Lorentz chose to shoot it about 30 feet too soon.
Wasn't great.
But he looked the part. But I'm watching it again and I'm saying, oh, geez, he kind of looked like he was just standing up and guessing that the shot was going to come high and it hit him. And I took a couple of notes there. And of course, when I'm watching the game, I'm saying, all right, well, what notes are going to reflect what's actually happening in the big piece of things? And oftentimes if I see a goalie poke checking, that means they don't believe in themselves on breakaways, or a guy that stands up doesn't really believe in themselves on breakaways. And when the Lorentz shot was taken, if he had a shot 5-hole from there, certainly had he gotten closer, but had he shot 5-hole, he would have scored on that one. And Carolina, they give up a lot off the rush as well. And Florida, as we know, they want to shut down and suppress the rush. I think that this is going to be really the challenge of Anderson to outplay what Bobrovsky is going to be trying to accomplish with his game. And if Carolina can sometimes find Florida with their pants down a little bit, they can counterpunch. They can have those jailbreak chances because, they're pretty fast but not heavy. The way they play their volume game, it lends me to believe anyway that they're going to be able to open the ice up. They're a different team this year. You know, like I was looking at this today here, fellas. In 18-19, this is going back, 6 seasons, they were a team that was only scoring slot line chances about 2 per game. And this year they're up to 3.39 and that's a 51% increase. It's because they wear you down now and look for an east to west after you've been recovered or have been late to recover pucks. And that's their system. Everybody knows it's coming.
So Bobrovsky, I think, now becomes the 10th goaltender in NHL history to win each of his first 3 career Game 7s. So, you know, Anderson and obviously to a lesser extent Joseph Woll, is that just really hard knowing that this guy is got the goods here when you look across 200 feet? Like, Woll wasn't horrible, but it's hard to go against a guy like that, isn't it, mentally?
No, I didn't like his game, honestly. It's hard to be hard on him because he's also thrust into a position that maybe he's not all the way ready for. The way that I would have said last year Skinner was playing when you could have had Jack Campbell in net. But he's pushed into a situation and he's playing his ass off. But I don't like the goals against on Sunday. I don't really like any of them, and for different reasons. It's like the 2-on-1 goal, Jones's goal. It's a shot where, as I was saying with Ottinger, you can't lock in on shooter before the shot comes. I'll tell you what, guys, the first day of retirement for me, on my list of things to figure out was, I want to go on the ice. I don't know why I didn't do this when I was a player, but I thought of it as soon as I got into coaching. I wanted to know how much more vertical angle was on the short side versus the long side. And what I did, because my goalie coach when I was in Edmonton was Pete Peters, I took some fishing line and then I brought it down to the puck where I wanted shot from, the face-off dot. And that was on the left side, goalie's left, meaning high glove. There's actually, it's amazing because I've got a couple pucks here. It's actually this much distance.
This rules.
2 inches.
Yeah.
There's 2 more inches on the short side than there is on the long side.
Makes sense.
So yeah, it's 2 inches. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is when you look at that Seth Jones goal, he drags the puck. All right. So when you see that Woll locks in on the shot, he'll go from his stance where his feet are under him, and then he goes wide right before the release. But it's too soon because when Seth Jones drags the puck, the other exercise I went through was, how does a shooter open up the net on a goalie? Well, for every 4 inches the shooter drags the puck from the outside to the middle of the ice, the net opens up an additional inch. So quickly, 4, 8, 12, 16 inches is roughly what Seth Jones drags the puck because he's on the right side of the ice, he's in a right-handed shot, and he brings it across and he goes long side. Now, for long side shots to go in, you have to make 2 mistakes as a goalie. You have to lose your angle, which Joseph Woll did because he didn't adjust across on the drag. He couldn't because he already got wide before the release, so he got stuck. So essentially, Seth Jones drags the puck 4, 8, 12, 16, which is room for a goal and an inch. And if you let this play long enough, you'll see the replay from the Fletch cam, which is behind the net, TV term, and you'll see that watch how he locks right there, and then he can't drag. He wasn't able to get across. So I don't like that goal.
Listen, the only thing, if it's posting in, that's the only, right?
It's not a
but it's not even
shot.
it's not a perfect shot. And it didn't need to go as far.
Good.
I know it's a great shot, but it's
great shot.
He had too much net. He gave him too much net on the drag you're talking about.
Yeah. So now what I'm saying to myself is what would I do to advise this young goalie to improve over the summer? All right. In his 4 years as a Leaf, he's faced 28 2-on-1s where the puck carrier has shot it on him. All right. He has a .679 save percentage. That ranks 62nd out of 64 goalies that qualify with a minimum 25 2-on-1s faced where the puck carrier shoots it. Just like that goal. Lankinen, .921 save percentage. Logan Thompson, .918 save percentage compared to a .679. Do you know what we do now, guys, in this day and age, because we have the access? Go and watch out what those guys are doing. What are they doing differently? Depth-wise, how do they keep their feet under them so they can adjust their angle, right? Because again, there's 2 mistakes. Misses angle and then tracks back. And the reason why he tracks back, he can't track down, is because he's reaching now at a puck that no longer has the net in front of him. All right? So that was goal number 1. Goal number 2, bad rebound on Marchand's shot to start the play. That should have been a dead puck right off the hop. And setting expectations for goalies, guys, you know what that means to me? All shots from the top of the circles out, it's not just a save, guys. It's controlled. That Marchand one comes in his belly. He needs a freeze there. It spits out, comes around the net, ends up in the back of the net. But to me, again, I'm just track it back. Several seconds or 3 touches. That one should be dead. Goal number 3 is off of the angle. He's not set. He kicks out a bad rebound. That's a bad rebound. It's a pass off the rebound, difficult scoring chance. But again, he starts it. Goal number 4 is a low danger deflection off the ice. Should have it. That's NHL standard. So this year, that's when I knew the game was over. I mean, it was already getting out of hand anyway.
Yeah.
But this year in the postseason, it's 74% chance to lose if your goalie gives up a bad goal and the other guy doesn't. Regular season was 86%. But now you got the top guys going every night. Goal number 5 is step off the angle, and he sets the screen on himself. He was off angle. So if I'm Joseph Woll, I've had a great season. I love my year. But, man, is there a lot of learning here. And you know what, kid? Don't take the summer off, man. You don't have it figured out. Get to work. Get ready, because it's a big year next year, and you don't want to rest on your laurels.
I had that thought with some of these guys who were just recently eliminated. It's like, I can tell you who's going to have a good year next year by the guys who get back at it soonest. That's certainly a big part of it. So, quick question then is, we talked a lot about pressure in the first hour for the Leafs. People have been talking about the market. For players, they tend to clam up under pressure. They don't skate as much. They hesitate. What does pressure look like for a goaltender? Is there a typical way it shows itself?
Buddy, if I ran you through my first game in Toronto, oh my God. I mean pressure, and I get it. I've been reading the headlines, and there's so much attention that you love it. It makes you rise up. It makes you play better. Maybe because you're on edge. I felt like personally, I don't know how you guys felt, but I struggled when I got complacent.
Mm-hmm.
When I was complacent, I got smoked, and when I was on edge or pressure, play better. So, it's almost like, what did I come across today? I was laughing about. Remember Devin Cooley 2 years ago? We're all going to die anyway, right?
That's right.
It was after his 49 saves against Seattle. We're all going to die anyway. I'm watching the game, and I just wish the guys would have had a thought like that, because when Berube says it's all mental, it is.
Right.
Boys, can we back check? The back check is non-existent. If you don't back check, you can't set yourself up at all.
Mm-hmm.
The goalie has 0 reads. It's just a complete cluster. But I know that I felt like it heightened my intentions. I'll never forget it. We're coming in on the bus, right? We land, and Shanny stands up at the back of the bus, and he goes, "Hey, Valley, who's starting tomorrow?" And this is my first start, guys, in the 16th game of the season. I haven't even moved into my apartment yet because I haven't got the pink slip. I'm the last guy on the team. I sit next to Henrik. Hank turns around. He goes, "Valley's playing." And then Shanny goes, "Ooh."
Thanks, Shanny. Awesome.
Yeah, he goes, "Matt Sundin's gonna be licking his chops." And then he's going through the whole thing where we're going through his old neighborhood. He said, "That's where I kissed so-and-so, my first kiss, going back to the hotel." And Glenn Sather comes in and he goes, "Hey guys, we're gonna go to the Hockey Hall of Fame right now. We gotta sign autographs." I'm like, do I really need to sign 300 autographs for the next 2 hours the night before my first start in Toronto? Got my parents calling me, telling me they rent a limo. They're already partying. I'm like, what are you guys partying about? It might not go right. I'm trying to get everybody
pump the brakes here.
Oh, big time. The next day, it was the elementary school going to the pregame skate. Every time I let one in pregame, I got 11,000 kids behind me cheering. Before the game, I run into one of the girls that's working there that I used to date in high school. That was a distraction. It was everywhere. It was a complete gong show. But the funny thing is we go to overtime, into a shootout. Who's the last shooter? Matt Sundin, righty.
Oh, I
know
think I remember
I've watched
this.
him my whole life. Yeah, it was the Hall of Fame game. You must have been there, Kyper.
Oh, yeah.
And he brings it back. And Barney, I drop my glove like below my kneecap. I know he's going high glove. If he goes anywhere else, it's in.
Yeah.
So he goes high glove, and I get a piece of it. It goes to the air. Anyhow, Shanny comes up to me first. He's like, I knew you had this. You know,
yeah. That's awesome.
And then we go into the locker room, and we had the Hall of Fame guys were all in the room, and I got a standing ovation. It's one of the best days of my life.
Wow.
But when I look at that game afterwards, I'm saying, all right, I did it once, but can I do that 50 times a year?
Right.
That's what I wonder sometimes. I mean, that's the pressure these guys are dealing with, and that's why I think sometimes you get a ripcord, because you can't fail if you don't play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why my antenna's always up when, you see a guy get touched a little bit. And, well, you guys know me. I always wonder about stuff like that.
That's great.
Just watching these playoffs, Valley, and I know maybe it's just me because I've watched the Leafs so much, but like passing's really hard in dangerous areas here. And maybe it's just more of players being told to dump and chase, but the block shots are gone to another level this time of year. And it's so hard to get pucks to the net and through these days. Like what do the numbers say comparing the playoffs to the regular season?
Well, I'll start with just seeing the last game, because as I was watching the last game, now the Leafs had 4 high danger chances in the first period. They had 5 in the game overall. Okay. In the first period, they had the Pacioretty one that was net front where Bob gets an arm on it. It was a good save. The Nylander one where he kind of fades away and he's just misses it. But those two guys, to me, they're on their heels a little bit. They're not, as Kyper, you'd want them to be like, maybe even Nylander, stop on the puck there and play it, drive it home.
Yeah.
We saw Edmonton advance on Aiden Hill like that, right? Just stop on a play and hammer it. I think it was Kapanen. So we also saw the Scott Lawton breakaway and the Steve Lorentz breakaway. And I thought this was interesting. Okay, we've already sort of talked about the breakaway. He shot too soon, right? So what do you think I look up? Are these guys even good on breakaways? Like, it could have been maybe somebody else on the team, right?
Right.
So Scotty Lawton, not bad, actually. He's had 31 breakaways in the last 3 years. Yes, well, Philly led the league in breakaways last year. I know this one offhand because it's a funny one, but they had 40. This is not this past season, 2 seasons ago. They had 42 breakaway goals 2 years ago, and the Rangers had 9.
Oh, wow. You're talking Lawton. Lawton had 31 breakaways. Okay.
Yeah, Lawton. So Lawton, he comes from Philly and all that, but they do run and gun. They lead in rush and all that jazz. So 31 chances over the last 3 years, 9 goals. Steve Lorentz, 15 breakaway chances over the last 3 years, 2 goals. So maybe not your best guy to go, right? Anyhow, as I went through it, I'm saying to myself, okay, so who's getting inside? Who's getting inside the most? Who's getting high danger chances? And of course, after the loss, the morning after, you're looking at this type of stuff. So second round versus Florida, high danger slot area scoring chances in the series. Matthew Nyes, 6. And then you got to go all the way down the list. And it's Marner with 2, Matthews with 2. And that one hurts me because those are the guys that need to get each other in, and just didn't see it. Tavares had 2 as well. So there's 3 of your big boys. Nylander had 4. All right. So that's where your big boys are. And then you're looking at what it was against, because I'm watching the same game as you guys, and I'm seeing a lot of the same characters out there for the big chances against. And Tavares was on during the series for 11 high dangers against. And this is all at 5-on-5. Nylander, 11 high danger against. Riley led in a bad way in the second round with 21 high danger against.
And
Carlo was
unshocking.
18.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those guys just got smoked. But it's hard to get inside, but typically when you're looking at a good team that's getting through right now, you're seeing a lot of 8s and a lot of 7s and 6s over the course of a series, where with the big boys here, we're just seeing 2s. And that's a big deal for me.
So would you have the numbers across the league on what names are the big boys across the league getting those numbers?
I don't have it in front of me, but I saw it today, and it's Connor, it's Rantanen, it's the guys that are getting through. I'll send it to you guys later on, but it's everybody else's big boys played big. Mm-hmm. You don't get through, and kind of oftentimes just looks this way. Sorry, and I get it. There's guys are going to take a lot of heat for this. And, I even heard a few things like sometimes it's even tough to leave the house. I lived that too, boys. I was in Russia one year when I had an 897. I thought I was going to get shot.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Stop laughing. He's not joking.
No, it's a fair concern.
Hey, Barney, when I would carry my bag at the Red Army through the entrance, okay, because we got to carry our own stuff. We don't have that in the KHL.
Yeah.
There are two guys at the doorway with M16s. I'm trying not to bump them with my pads because that thing might go off.
Oh my God, man.
Could you stop it?
Yeah, I've heard some stories. It sounds terrifying. But you made it. You made it to get to tell us all these great stories.
I made it. Hey, we all die anyway, right?
Well, exactly.
That's a great attitude.
You know what? All I learned today about you is you're somebody, you're nobody, and you're everybody.
Sammy, I hope you're doing all right, pal. That was a tough one.
All good, brother. Heading in the right direction.
Hey, Valley, as always, thanks for doing this,
Great
pal.
stuff. Appreciate it, Valley.
My pleasure, guys. Have
Steve
a great rest of your week.
Valiquette, CEO, ClearSight Analytics.
21 high danger chances against.
Yeah, it's not the Leafs hour, but I'm ready to have that conversation at some point. If you can't be better with Brandon Carlos, like they're out of guys to make you better, you might be the problem.
21 is crazy. And Tavares and Willie, if you're, sorry to do that, it's national hour, but like if you're offering Tavares a contract, that's like, look at this number, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you listen to Valley's Deep in the Valley on Tuesdays because we heard some things
Is
about
that the
you.
official name of the segment?
I don't know.
We gotta sell that next year.
Deep in the Valley?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
An outdoor company or something.
Anyways, it's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's ever ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So as you guys were talking to Valley there, I was getting a little creative on Bet365, and you can bet on in the specific series. So let's say, for example, you think that Leon Draisaitl is going to have a monster series against the Dallas Stars to propel them into the Stanley Cup final. You can bet on Leon Draisaitl to have 4 plus goals in the series, 3 plus goals in the series, or 5 plus goals in the series. You can bet him on 2 or whatever. So it's kind of fun to look through these. But I'm looking at the number here for Leon Draisaitl, who is plus 130 to have 4 goals in the series. They're playing a 7-game series against these guys. I actually think that's a pretty good number.
You're making the bet on how long.
4 guys, 4
So many.
out of a potential 6 or 7 games.
But you're betting
is
on how
a
long.
lot of goals.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen his playoff numbers there,
Oh,
Kip,
I
but he's
know,
been
I
a bit
know.
of a horse for them.
But now you're up against a
Okay, how about 3?
deeper blue line and a hot goaltender.
Yeah.
3?
3.
3 is
I like 3.
3 is minus 190.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah.
See, there's a big difference
There's
to
a-
Bet 365 between
3 to 4 is huge.
Leon come
But-
out and have 2 tonight,
but-
and all of a sudden it changes.
But all he needs is 1 hat trick.
He
What
needed a game.
What about
Yeah.
5 goals? Can I interest you in 5 goals for Leon Draisaitl?
Let's hear the number.
Plus 400 for
Now
5
it's
goals.
getting funky.
Miko Rantanen you could bet him plus 550 at that number. Connor McDavid plus 650. So just
I'd buy that for $1.
just an interesting way to bet on the on that series. And I'm just quickly looking at the line for tonight. The Florida Panthers are plus 110 tonight for the against the Carolina Hurricanes, who are minus 130. I think some money has come in on the Carolina Hurricanes because when I placed a wager earlier today on the Florida Panthers, they were at plus 105. So people are betting on the Carolina
that's a
Hurricanes
big
tonight. And looking ahead to tomorrow night for the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars, Edmonton's slight underdogs at plus 105. Dallas, the favorites in that game, at minus 125. And that was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's ever ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, let's take a quick break. And when we return, we'll get into some NHL news and notes, including a general manager who's got a nice extension. The question is, did he deserve it? That and more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the program. As a reminder, this hour, Real Kyper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. As I mentioned before the break, Boston Bruins signed general manager Don Sweeney to a 2-year contract extension. This coming off the heels of the Boston Bruins missing the playoffs. I didn't see that coming.
I wonder if this was like he bet on Florida to get to the third round so they could get the first pick or first rounder for Marchand. He got the first rounder. Great job. Here's an extension. I mean, what went well? Why else would he be getting an extension other than them getting a first for Marchand?
If you look at that roster right now, I don't think many people would believe that they're going to come back and make the playoffs. Do you?
I mean, I kept looking at the Daily Faceoff, just has a list of forwards. Top line is Geeky on it. Kuznetsov on the second line with Lysell, Koepke, Middlestat, Letary. Like the Lindholm deal didn't work.
I watch hockey every day and talk about hockey every day. I've never heard of two guys on their second line.
Farinacci.
I'm just wondering if they miss the playoffs again next year, what does a 2-year deal do for him?
It's like severance, right?
Sure.
But
I mean, this could be a 3 or 4 year, 5-year program here.
Do you think they're that? Do you think they're that
to get back into contention?
You know what on their roster makes you think they're going to do that? You're right. Like Mason Lohrei, top pairs at Aura. Fraser Minton better be real good.
I hope he's bad. In fact, sorry, Fraser, but
I like him.
I really hope you don't turn into Patrice Bergeron.
I like Carlo
2.0.
a ton, and I don't have regrets for the Leafs there, but I like Minton a lot.
Yeah,
I think it's a safe pickup.
C.
I did mention in yesterday's program, I'm not sure if I did it in the Leaf Edition or the National Hour, that, and I think you said, oh, now you say that, but Brad Marchand, in terms of resigning in Florida, I think it'll be too challenging, knowing that you may want to take another crack at Sam Bennett. But if he's out there and he didn't get that extension from the Boston Bruins, somebody may give it to him.
Who are you talking about?
Brad Marchand.
I know, but what team? You're saying Florida won't?
I don't know if...
Of course someone will.
Yeah, but 4 years, could he potentially be looking for a Stamkos type of contract? And we know it didn't work out well in Nashville, but that's not to say that Stamkos can't have a rebound year in Nashville, and maybe it was too much of something else that Nashville's got to rebalance. But Marchand went from a guy that was, put it this way, I talked to maybe 2 or 3 teams after Four Nations, and they told me flat out, he can't skate anymore. Can't keep up.
Watching Four Nations, it was tough not to leave with that conclusion.
For sure. But we are also talking about the best on the planet getting together to play a hockey game here. And although that we can
the level of that was out of this world.
The playoffs aren't as fast as that.
No, there's nothing like what that was.
There's still legitimate fourth line guys in the playoffs, in the Final Four, and it's not as fast. And now Marchand looks really good again.
That line killed the Leafs.
I'm trying to find where, here we go, on Hockey Reference, where they've got Hart Trophy votes. Marchand got Hart Trophy votes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 separate seasons in the NHL. And he's been underpaid his whole career, right? He's made $68 million. I know that's a lot of money. He's been
but he has not
worth double that.
He's not participated in the new money, and he got caught up in the I can't get paid past Bergeron.
Internal cap they had
right?
there.
Who set the Boston?
It was Bergeron.
Bergeron.
Yeah.
Right? So he did it. He signed it. He lived with it. Didn't complain. Didn't whine. Kept playing hard. But when he asked for the money that he thinks he could possibly make up in Boston, they told him, go pound salt.
So I think what choice he'll face then is, do you want to play your dying years in the NHL, wrong word, I don't know, end years in the NHL, chasing Stanley Cups? Do you want to be part of good teams? Do you want to be in the hunt? Or do you want to get as much money as you can? And, to me, Steven Stamkos made a decision. He was insulted. I think Tampa Bay tried to sign him for like 8 years at $3 million a year. They wanted to give him like some, we'll get you the dollar amount, just retire partway through or to injury.
They wanted the Ilya Kovalchuk Devils deal.
Yes,
that's what they wanted.
Exactly. And he ends up, he went where he could get the very most money.
Yeah,
and it didn't go good. So what's Marchand going to want to be? He's too competitive to just go play for money in Anaheim.
The one thing I believe that is going to happen again, because of the salary cap rising, is that there seems to be a level of belief that if you're Marchand or maybe Bennett or certainly Marner, that if you want to go chase your money, you're going to have to go to Chicago. You're going to have to go to all these lower teams. And it's like, it's not true. There's going to be opportunities for these guys to sign a big number on contending teams.
Yeah, but if I'm looking at Brad Marchand and I'm a contending team, no chance does 4 years on a guy who you think is slowing down considerably makes sense. What did he have for points this year? It's 47 points this year.
Do you think it makes sense for the Leafs to give him 4 years?
Absolutely not. No.
Please, God, do it. Yeah.
See the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a dumb fan. He's smart.
Right? Okay, outside of Marner leaving, how competitive can you be with a guy like Marchand and Auston and Willie? And you've been missing that component for 10 years in Toronto of a guy that's willing to get greasy, down and dirty, greasy.
Yeah.
Do you think that he would sign here?
Hold on. Didn't the Leafs have like a decade where they went and got expired superstars?
Yes.
Okay,
right?
I'm sorry. Which one was greasy and dirty?
Didn't they get like
Wayne Simmons was pretty greasy and dirty?
No, I'm not talking about recent Leafs.
Oh,
aren't you talking about your era Leafs?
You mean little Glenn Wesley in there, little Phil Housley, little Ron Francis,
yes, and
little
Lindros come here for it. All the
Gary Roberts.
You know what's funny? I'll bring those years back. Why not?
For God's sake.
Let's give it another try.
Like, you can't just get a guy because they've been awesome. Like, you want to look forward, not back.
Bring him in. Bring him in.
Yeah, and then you're doing locker cleanout April 17th instead of May 17th, and we got a lot of shows to do after that.
Sammy would be content for just seeing him cross-check someone and knocking out some teeth.
Yeah, but then he gets suspended for 50 games because he's a Leaf.
It still would be worth it to you.
Wait till Sam Bennett's here and playing for 8.5 per season concussing guys, Sammy. The suspensions are going to be Chris Simon-esque.
I don't know.
Anyhow, I think he would sign here. I do. Do you?
I think he'll go anywhere he could make money and have fun.
You mentioned Montreal yesterday.
For who?
Marchand?
Marchand, yeah.
Totally
see
Canada
that. Boy.
Totally see that.
And also, his entire essence has been crushing the spirit of Leafs fans. Going to Montreal would be...
Yeah, I could see it.
Yes, the resistance.
I could see it. I think the Jets cleaned out their lockers today as well. And I was interested in what Connor Hellebuyck had to say. Because last year...
Worried about this.
Last year, he made some news, I would say, at the locker cleanout.
Yeah.
And I cut a clip from him about playoff goaltending. And I don't know if it's bad or not. I cut it and
Okay.
Let's play. It's in there. Hellebuyck clip 1 on playoff. Oh, sorry.
Goaltending in the playoffs is different than goaltending in the regular season?
Not a whole lot. I mean, every team plays it different. And, I think there's just the way the NHL goes. Like, sometimes goals are going to happen and goals go in. And, there's not always something you can do about it. As far as my game goes, I'm always trying to do something about it, but you don't want to do too much. And that's a big takeaway that I have is I can't focus on doing everything. I just got to stick to my game and play my game, and I know it's going to, in the long run, even things out. Bad bounces happen, and sometimes you can't control them. And playoffs, a lot of chaos happens. Just trying to control that chaos was some big takeaways this year. And, I maybe added a little bit of depth for playoffs. But, when I finally started realizing that my game works and I want to play my game, I started having fun, a lot more fun. And, at the end of the day, that's when I play my best, is when I'm having a lot of fun out there.
That's
Is it bad?
I didn't mind
bad?
it. No,
Okay.
it's not bad.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Okay.
Okay.
Compared to last year, it's pretty good.
I don't. I believe that he shouldn't kill himself. I mean, in terms of
Yeah.
beating himself up in
Right.
a press conference, and
He redeemed
I
himself a
don't
little
know,
bit
like
at
he,
times.
he
and-
doesn't. He's right. It's sport. There's bounces. There's this time next year. If he has another one, I hope it's a lot better sounding than this in terms of feeling maybe worse. But I'm okay with what he said.
I'd be interested in hearing what Jets fans think of that. Like if they wanted more ownership from him, kind of giving himself the pass on there. You can't stop them all, and there's bad bounces. And
A lot of bad bounces in the first
Yeah,
round.
a lot of bad bounces.
I know.
A lot of bad bounces.
He did.
The ice is bouncy in St. Louis, boy.
He got him. He got through. This isn't a team that's going to get dismantled. They're going to get another crack at it.
Yeah.
I like the guy. I like the goal.
They're gonna.
Team.
If it's not Nick Ehlers back, it'll be someone close like that. I think they can go get Brock Nelson.
Great.
I think he would
I think
gladly
that's a great fit.
go there, and they'd be happy to give him $7 or $8 million.
I think, though, the answer to is playoff hockey different from regular season hockey? How can you say no? Like there's more.
Of course it is.
Yes. There's more traffic and bumping and screens and shots from the point and
Yes.
desperation. It's definitely different. And
Every meeting starts with take the goalie's eyes away.
yes. And so if
Stand
you're a
on his
goalie who has
legs.
success playing deep in your net, maybe you need to make a small adjustment and try to be on top of those tips more before they have more room to change direction. It's different.
Puck just kept going in the net.
I don't think it was anything terrible. I just think you'd like a little bit more.
Yeah. And he's a
Don't let yourself
really
off the hook and
good
everything.
student.
He's
Boy,
the
is he
best in the world. He watches more
Right.
than anyone on the planet.
And also Morris.
Would you send him to summer school, though?
No, he doesn't need it. He does it himself, Kip. One man summer school.
Morrissey says today at the cleanout that he would have been sidelined for the rest of the Jets playoff run with his knee injury.
Yeah, that was
Awkward.
awkward.
MCL for
He's
sure.
I
so good.
I basically knew kind of right away that I was injured, and I obviously left some, so just frustration.
Remember my knee doing the old.
You probably
wobble
know
below
pretty
the
quick.
knee.
So that's the one
Yeah.
time that it's like legit. Like, yeah, he's hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
I do.
Guys go to that way too much in general. I'm not talking about Auston Matthews today in Toronto, but in general, the media just loves going to find out who was hurt and what they were hurt. And
Buddy,
how
LeBron
hurt
James
are
couldn't even
ya?
go to the Met Gala. His hammy hurt so much. So
Hammy.
I
Wasn't it?
don't know what the hell it was,
Yeah.
but he said he couldn't go to the Met Gala. So, you mentioned Morrissey being so good. I think we talk about the most underrated guys, and I think he does get underrated in terms of how good he is. I mean, him at that Four Nations when he wasn't playing in the finals, like, oh boy, that's a huge blow. He was really good for Canada. So I like Morrissey.
Me too.
But the pounding some of these guys
Oh, yeah.
have taken in just even half a playoff round. Let's face it, they're not even halfway. Like they are halfway through, but that's the kind of feeling. And I went to a conference final with the Washington Capitals, and you're like, still look around. There's only 4 teams left, and you're like, wow, we're really close to a Stanley
So
Cup.
far.
And
So
you're,
far.
You're not.
Still need 8 more.
You're
you
not.
need to do the same
just
thing you
halfway
just
through.
did twice.
Yeah.
You got to do it 2 more times.
So the Chris Tanev hits taken thing.
Yeah.
I tweeted yesterday.
100 and what?
It was 107, 106, 107, and then the second highest was 57. it was like half though.
He's a
It was like
pinata.
just under half. And Mike, I got a lot of different responses to that, and a lot of that is, and I want to ask you, that's a massive disparity. A lot of people are too slow, or he can't. They were blaming him for taking all those hits, where a lot of people like to say willing to take the hit to make a play, warrior. I think you can kind of see what you want on that. But
I think
that's
if they would have found a way to beat Florida, he would have recovered nicely against Carolina compared to Florida.
Yeah.
Florida, like
Tough matchup.
they're one of the most physical teams probably in the. Like I know there were their Broad Street bully days.
Yeah.
But that was different. This team is as physical without, I think, the Dave Schultz of the world,
Tell Jake-
Selesky's and
Yeah.
Tell Jacob Slavin to keep his head up this time as Sam Bennett on the ice.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, love that hit.
all right, just like that. 2 hours and solved nothing on our show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the game tonight, 8 p.m. on Sportsnet.